Hi, I'm Dave and welcome to day 24 of RPGaDAY. Today's topic is most complicated RPG owned. Now this could be confused with the earlier one, most intellectual RPG owned, whereas Noblesse is possibly the smartest game around that you have to be particularly smart to understand. It's not unnecessarily complicated. Once you've got boil it down to the basic rules, there's not an awful lot to it, which is great because it keeps things running at a nice fast pace. The most complicated RPG I own is different to the most complicated RPG that I've experienced. The most complicated RPG I experienced was Space Opera. I remember Pete bought this. This was back in the 80s again. Back when we wanted to try something a little bit different. We finished playing Traveller and Star Frontiers was a little bit too pulpy, I think, for him. And so he picked up Space Opera expecting us to play this great heroic campaign, and it took us 2 or 3 sessions to roll the characters. The game system was so complicated and so in-depth and so detailed that it took us a good 6-7 hours just to get a character. And on top of all that, I don't think I actually ever played the character that I created. I don't think we actually played the game. I think the character creation put us all off so much that we never actually got around to playing. They may have played something without me, but who knows. As for the most complicated one I actually own, that illustrious title probably goes to D&D 4th edition. Oh. I mean, for starters, you need multiple books for it, which is always a bad sign. You all know what D&D looks like. It's really pretty. It's very nice indeed. It looks gorgeous. It's just pages and pages of tables and feats and spells and dice and things like that. And while I was used to this when I was a kid, I wanted something a bit faster now. I don't want to be having to look things up all the time. I want things a lot more instantaneous. And while I did love D&D as a kid, the thing that's put me off the most of playing 4th edition, which is why I've probably never played it, so you could probably tell me that I'm overjudging this completely, is that everything seems to be based on using miniatures. And I must admit, I'm not a miniatures gamer. If I wanted to do that, I'd play Warhammer. That's what Warhammer's for. Wargaming. And while D&D spawned from tabletop wargaming, I like the idea that everything's going to be in your head. I can imagine more in here than I can looking at little miniatures on a grid on a table. So I do find D&D, certainly 4th edition, is a lot more complicated than it needs to be. I want everything in my head and as a proper fantasy rather than a board game with combat rules. You're probably going to disagree with me on that one, and I don't mind if you do. I'd like it if you disagree with me. I want to be proven wrong. What do you think is the most complicated RPG that you've ever played or owned? Why don't you let me know? Just hashtag RPGaDAY and spread the word, and we'll find out what the general public thinks is the most complicated RPG out there. Come back tomorrow for the next topic, which you can find out by downloading the cool image that Will Brooks put together for me from the link that's at the bottom of the screen in the text underneath the video. Until tomorrow, keep playing.